Listen to WTIM Ag Podcasts anytime.
At First National Bank in Taylorville, switching banks isn't a hassle. It's easy by real people who care. Find out why they've been first every time for over 70 years by clicking their icon at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
WTIM. And this is the WTIM Morning Show on your information station, and it's sponsored by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville. I'm Reed Kama, and we're glad that you've stuck with us this morning. Well, you might remember a couple months ago, we had nurse practitioners from Springfield Clinic Taylorville, Brenda Heeman and Kate Servi, on to talk a little bit about hormone replacement therapy and bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. I'm pretty sure the term is there. And that conversation was very in depth, and they only got through about half of what they were going to talk about. So we needed to bring them on again to continue the discussion about BHRT and HRT. So joining me to my left, we'll go one at a time here. Nurse practitioner Brenda Heeman. Brenda, thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. We appreciate it.
And I appreciate having you on as well. Same goes to, of course, Kate Servi over to my right, another nurse practitioner. Kate, thank you for coming on as well.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
And happy to have you on as well. So I think we'll start with a little bit of a rehashing of what we talked about last time. Kate, I'll start with you. What are the overall benefits of hormone replacement therapy as the treatment has been for as long as it's been around?
Sure. Yeah. So there's actually a lot of benefits. The benefits are usually the highest if the hormones are started near menopause, so within 10 to 20 years of menopause, as well as under the age of 60. But some benefits that you may experience are the reduced vasomotor symptoms. So those are the things that we know as like the hot flashes, night sweats, mood swings, all of those lovely symptoms of menopause. They can also help prevent osteoporosis and maintain bone structure. They can reduce the risk of dementia later in life. And there's also some known benefits for hair, skin, and also vision.
So the benefits over there, that's Kate Servi, a nurse practitioner at Springfield Clinic Taylorville, talking about that. As for you, Brenda Heeman, is HRT overall, a safe thing to do, and what are some of the considerations there?
Absolutely. So, they had that Women's Health Initiative in 2002, and that led to fear of hormone replacement therapy, especially in women. But those women, on average, 69% of those women in that study were between the ages of 60 and 79. And so that was an older population of women. And really, the average age for that study was 63, with all women being between the age of 50 and 79. And so with that study, they used conjugated equine estrogen and progestin. And so we found that those two medications are not the most ideal forms of hormone replacement therapy. And for bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, for healthy women under the age of 60, ideally within 10 years of menopause, the benefits of hormone replacement therapy outweigh the risks and complications associated.
So when you say within 10 years of menopause onset, so 10 years like after it starts?
Correct. Okay. Within that 10 years. And so even if you had like a hysterectomy in your 40s and you started hormone replacement therapy within 10 years of that hysterectomy, that would be ideal for women.
So that is, those are the safe typical timelines then for HRT. What are the risks of HRT? What should people really know about that?
So yeah, the risks actually go up after the age of 60. So again, just like Brenda said, it really is beneficial to start under the age of 60 and within that 10-year time frame. But the risks can include increased risk of blood clots, and that's usually in people that have already experienced blood clots, so they're not great candidates for HRT. It can sometimes increase the risk of heart disease and stroke. Breast cancer is a big one that people worry about with HRT, and this risk is much greater in women who just take estrogen alone versus estrogen with progesterone also.
So some of those combinations there, sounds like can cause some concerns. And so you talk about blood clots as well. So, it sounds like with the way the therapy sort of interacts with the blood or goes through wherever blood goes through. I don't really know much. That's why we have you two in here. So it sounds like that's a big part of the reason that blood clots can happen.
Yes, and it's pretty rare. And so a lot of times the people that get blood clots, they have an underlying genetic reason as to why they're getting blood clots.
Or they're smokers.
Or smoke. Yeah, smoking is a huge one. Thank you.
So that's another factor there. In terms of, so we've got risks. What about side effects, Brenda? What should we think about there?
So a lot of times when you're on hormone replacement therapy, we want to start you at a lower dose and then gradually increase based on your symptoms and effects of the hormone replacement therapy. But common side effects can be breast tenderness, especially that first week after starting hormone replacement therapy. Some women have nausea, bloating. Sometimes they can have a little bit of change in their stools. It's not very common, but it is a possibility. Depending on how long they've not had hormones, sometimes like initiating hormone replacement therapy, they can have a little bit of headaches. Some women can have irregular bleeding. So like if you haven't been on hormone replacement therapy and you're started back on hormone replacement therapy, sometimes you can have some spotting. Sometimes you can have irregular bleeding. It's typically temporary. There can be a little bit of mood swings with starting hormone replacement therapy. Usually nothing extreme, but usually they feel like an improvement in their anxiety and depression. But for some women, they can have a little bit of more irritation or irritability initially, but again, that usually subsides or improves. Serious side effects are, again, what we're most concerned about. And that would be, like Kate already said, the blood clots, the cardiovascular risk, which of course is especially especially more serious in older women.
So it sounds like, so you mentioned irregular bleeding. That's one where I know if I were on this, I would maybe get a little bit concerned. I see, obviously, under the side effects section. So it sounds like maybe that's a little bit less of a concern than
it is. I mean, women probably are more used to bleeding than men in general, but but yeah, it can just be a temporary adjustment, and usually it's nothing that we get concerned about. But it can be just because we change the hormone replacement therapy. So maybe we went up in a dose, and their body just has to readjust.
And then in terms of how long HRT lasts or can last, what's that like, Kate?
There's no set time limit. So with any medication or hormone that you're on, you want to be on the lowest dose for the shortest duration. And so the dosing, the risks, the benefits should all be discussed with whoever prescribes it to you every 3 to 6 months, and just kind of keep revisiting it.
So getting those regular checkups, it sounds like, and sort of adjusting the timeline, it seems like, from when you start is your recommendation there. Now, in terms of, some people will get a hysterectomy. Is HRT then safe to take after that?
Yes. In fact, women that are young and they get a hysterectomy, in their 30s and 40s, it's highly recommended that they do start hormone replacement therapy, because hormone replacement therapy in young women is actually cardioprotective, protective and prevention of osteoporosis, osteopenia, and has been shown to reduce risk factors for dementia and risk factors for stroke. So women until the age of menopause actually have lower risk factors for heart disease and stroke until menopause. And then at menopause or after menopause, women's risk factors actually increase to the same level as men.
So it increases at that point. And then that, of course, starts that 10-year time frame that you recommend that they consider HRT in terms of their treatment. Well, I've been speaking with Brenda Heeman and Kate Servi, nurse practitioners at Springfield Clinic, Taylorville. Why don't we take a break, and we'll continue this very in-depth conversation about all things HRT and BHRT right here on the WTIM Morning Show on your information station.
Your information station, WTIM.
If you're 40 and over, you'll recognize these artists by their first names. Frank, Dean, Sammy, Andy, Nat, Diana, Michael. Well, here's the big news. You can now hear Central Illinois' largest music library with over 3,500 songs on air and online at 965thechill.com. Tune in on the FM dial in Christian County and on your computer or smartphone. Hear these great artists and many more 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 965thechill.com.
Double your impact with sight and sound. Reach customers through our 6 regional radio stations, plus capture their attention with our 36 by 72-inch digital billboard right on Route 29 in Taylorville. That's nearly 11,000 drivers seeing your message every single day while they're already listening to your radio ads. Ready to maximize your reach? Call your regional radio account manager today and put your business in front of eyes and ears across Central Illinois. Regional radio is where your message gets noticed.
There's only one Central Illinois radio station that brings you the memories of the 60s and early 70s as you are cruising down the streets of your hometown. The dial position is 98.3 FM. The station is 98.3 WSVZ. From Macon to Vandalia and I-55 to I-57, cruising 98.3 plays the hits from early Elvis in the 60s to the British invasion of the Beatles, Herman's Hermits, and many more from the 1960s. Then we swing into the early half of the 1970s with artists like the Guess Who, the Doobie Brothers, and Elton John. Every song brings back something you remember about growing up. Set a button and crank up the station, playing good time rock and roll from the Tower of Power, cruising 98.3 WSVZ.
Hey there, loyal listeners. This is your team at Regional Radio with a quick heads up. Some of the great programming you enjoy throughout the day is pre-recorded, but don't worry, we're still bringing you the same local content you love. Our legal team insisted we mention this, and hey, keeping the attorneys happy keeps us on the air. So thanks for tuning in and being part of the Regional Radio family. We're proud to bring local, compelling content to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
I'm Senior Account Manager Teresa Nelson with Regional Radio, here to share some just-released news. Edison Research reveals that 35% of daily audio time is spent with AM/FM radio, both in-car and at home. At home, 22% of radio listening is streamed, and at work, 16%. Smart speakers have become a key player with AM/FM streaming, leading ad-supported listening in 2024. Radio continues to deliver local content every day. We help local businesses boost their bottom line. Let us do the same for you.
Your information station, WTIM.
And we're back on the WTIM Morning Show on your information station. The show is sponsored by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville. I'm Reed Kamai, and I continue my conversation with Brenta Heeman and Kate Servine, nurse practitioners at Springfield Clinic, Taylorville. And we've been talking about all things hormone replacement therapy. And one thing we haven't really gotten to is really just the more the key logistics of how it works. So I thought I'd start with you, Kate, on that. So what is it like to be on the treatment? Are we talking about pills? Are there injections? What's the frequency of this? And I imagine it can vary by person, but I'd love to learn a little about that as well.
Sure. So for estrogen, we usually recommend topical. Oral is not generally recommended because it has increased risk of side effects, and so we use estradiol patches, and usually you can change those once or twice a week. Progesterone, we use oral micronized progesterone, and so that's a capsule, and we usually start with around 100 milligrams. And we usually recommend that you take it at bedtime because it can also help with sleep and insomnia that often ensues when you go through menopause. If women decide to or need to be on testosterone replacement therapy, usually we aim for 1/10 of the dose of a man, and it can either be in a patch, or you can also do an IM or sub-Q injection. Pellets are becoming more popular, but I don't tend to recommend those because they can supersaturate the hormone receptors. And so eventually the hormone can quit working at that point. So those are usually the most common ones that we use and start with.
Okay, so you take the pills. It sounds like you mentioned taking one of them before bed. So is this like a nightly thing? Okay.
Yes, daily.
So or yeah, daily. That in terms of that, and then you mentioned actually multiple different forms. Of course, you have a topical solution. Did you say?
For the estrogen, yeah,
Okay.
it's a patch.
Okay, so it's a patch. So you had that one as well, and then you also mentioned earlier, Kate, looking at the kind of the plan with the doctor every 3 to 6 months. So is that sort of the frequency with which the visits are happening? Are there also other visits that are happening? What's that like?
Yeah, usually just checking in every 3 to 6 months, and we can always retest hormones. So if you start having side effects, we can always recheck the labs and see where you're at. And a lot of it is symptoms based too, and seeing how you're feeling and if things are working or if you don't feel like they're working, and how we can kind of tweak things. I also didn't mention that estrogen can also be, it's in a patch, but you can also apply it just topically. So like topically vaginally can help with some of the vaginal dryness and irritation too, and we use that a lot.
So it's like a clear cream or something like that.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a compounded cream.
A compounded cream. Okay. So no, I'm glad you mentioned that, because it helps for anyone who might be considering this to know what the steps are like, how it all works in terms of what they have to do to make it happen. Now, part of why we brought the two of you in both 2 months ago and now was to talk not only about hormone replacement therapy, but bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. Brenda, what exactly are bioidentical hormones?
So, bioidentical hormones are man made hormones that are chemically identical to the hormones produced by the body. They're available in both FDA approved option and custom compound versions. The custom compound versions typically lack FDA regulation, so you have to trust your provider and where you're getting your products from.
So, a lot to think about over there in terms of bioidentical hormones. Now, I know something on a lot of folks' minds is weight loss. Is hormone replacement therapy going to help when it comes to weight loss? How does that work?
So hormones don't directly cause weight loss, but they can help manage body fat distribution changes during menopause. So as you go through menopause, abdominal fat tends to increase in women, which can lead to more chronic diseases such as fatty liver disease and type 2 diabetes. And so as you go through menopause, your metabolic rate decreases by about 250 to 300 calories a day. So this can result in an average weight gain of around 4 to 4.5 pounds a year. So diet and lifestyle matter in addition to the hormone replacement therapy. It can be a tool in the tool belt to help, but you also need to work on diet. And so that would be increasing protein intake, and that's important for muscle health as well as your bone density. And activity is also really important, especially resistance training and maintaining bone structure and muscle integrity as well.
And so I imagine then that there'd be a conversation between the patient and the provider saying that, like, okay, while you're on this, make sure you're getting a certain amount of exercise a day, eat these kinds of foods.
Sure.
I know a lot of people want to eat healthy, and a doctor might say eat, especially concentrate on this food category. Is that kind of, are those the conversations that happen?
Yeah. We kind of take a look at what they're eating and see where we can maybe make some adjustments and help them make better choices.
So, balanced hormone also can increase that metabolism, boost their energy, which can also help them have a better apt to exercise and eating healthy when they feel better.
Well, so that works out, helps them get that exercise. I'll tell you what, we have a little under 2 minutes left. So, people get HRT or any treatment, of course, to feel better. And Brenda, how soon will someone feel better if they go on this treatment?
So basically, most people start feeling better as soon as a couple weeks, but for some people, it can take actually several months. And if you make adjustments to the hormone replacement therapy based on their symptoms and needs, it can take 3 to 6 months, which is why that's what our follow-up is.
Yeah, so it sounds like making those changes is something that the body maybe doesn't know how to react to it, and then it just takes longer. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
All right. So that's how long it can take. So with about a minute left, any alternatives to hormone replacement if the formal kind of therapy that you folks are talking about is maybe not going to work as ideally?
Yeah. So if somebody is uncomfortable with hormone replacement therapy or they're not a candidate for it, they can consider antidepressants can be helpful in mood swings, as well as helping with vasomotor symptoms such as hot flashes. Gabapentin and clonidine are also approved to help with these same type of symptoms. There are 2 FDA-approved drugs for hot flashes called Veoza and Lincet. And so you can also consider those. They tend to be pretty expensive. There's also a number of supplements that you can consider over the counter that can also help support you while you go through menopause too.
And why don't we leave it right there? We're just about out of time with Brenda Heumann and Kate Servie, nurse practitioners at Springfield Clinic, Taylorville. Brenda and Kate, thanks again for coming on.
Thank you.
And for educating us a lot more about hormone replacement therapy and bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. This is, of course, the WTIM morning show on your information station. More to come in just a little bit.
WTIM.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. Trump border czar Tom Homan has just announced the removal of 700 federal agents from immigration enforcement operations in Minnesota. He says the move comes after state and local authorities agreed to cooperate with the feds by turning over arrested immigrants. Federal judge Portland, Oregon is tying the hands of federal agents by blocking them from deploying tear gas on anti-ICE rioters. A similar ruling issued by a federal court last month for Minneapolis was eventually struck down. The latest government shutdown is history. Federal agencies are funded through September, except for the Department of Homeland Security. It gets just 2 weeks worth of funding while lawmakers debate ICE reforms. The Clintons have finalized their agreement to testify in the House investigation of Jeffrey Epstein. More details, srnnews.com.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Ask yourself this question. Is it really worth holding on to that timeshare that you know you need to get rid of? Here's the truth. The average maintenance fee just went up over 17%. That could have been 117%.